Are there more WWE releases coming this week? Who wrote that intro for AJ Styles at Crown Jewel over the weekend? And what is next for the Hardy Boyz? Find out in this news video right now. Get your air humpers out. We have Hardy Boyz news to kick off the video today. Sam, they're fresh off their action at the big TNA show last night.
They are, and there's a lot of speculation regarding their future, their contract, what's going on with them basically in the long term. But the Hardy Boyz re-signed with TNA in November 2024, and Fightful Select have confirmed that they were one-year deals that they'd signed. Now, sources in the company have apparently said that the deal has been mutually beneficial, and there's been a lot of positive things that have come from it. And they've regularly stayed for hours after TNA shows to do their heavily in demand meet and greets. But sources told Fightful from TNA that their deals are set to be up next month unless an extension is quietly reached. And the company does apparently hope to retain them.
So this all, well, Carlos Silva, the TNA man, I like to call him. He is Mr. TNA. You see him with his hat on, doing the stuff, giving the belts to NXT people.
Yeah.
That's his big role part of TNA. But he tweeted out a very interesting thing. He said, "Thank you to Matt and Jeff for being part of this TNA team. Such a pleasure to work with you and look forward to many years of positive vibes together." It's that last bit there, many positive years of positive vibes together, when they haven't yet signed the deals. That got people thinking, have they signed new deals without people knowing they've signed new deals?
Quite potentially. It might be that something that they're building to, or they're going to use for storyline purposes. Obviously, if you've got this whole, bleeding into NXT thing, there's maybe something interesting they can do there with kayfabe. But I just think it is probably the best position for both of them to be, is if they can agree on some more time, because the Hardys are getting, this sort of small renaissance here, and at the same time, they seem to be doing wonders for TNA.
Yeah, and in NXT as well, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously. But off the back of that Carlos Silva tweet, Fightful Select do have an update. They're saying, regarding Carlos Silva's for years to come comment towards the Hardys, we were told by TNA sources that they haven't heard of a Hardy Boyz extension, but wouldn't be surprised to see it. The two sides have enjoyed working together. So it looks like it might happen, but it definitely hasn't happened as we're sat here right now.
Not happened yet. 99.9%. Yeah. No, it looks like it's gonna.
Probably. It will do. It will. Of course it will. Anyway, I'm convinced now that John Cena has murdered several people and is hiding them in his basement, because it seems like he's too nice of a fella for there not to be some dark stuff under the thing.
He's making up for something, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Because it turns out that John Cena did a lovely thing that nobody knew about ahead of that lovely thing happening over the weekend. Do you want to do the little intro there, Sam?
Yeah, the definition of total non-stop action. The ace and undisputed boss of the Bullet Club. And the whole crowd went, they said it. It's our honor as fans and my honor as an opponent to see if he can beat up John Cena one final time. He's the face that runs the place, the phenomenon AJ Styles.
Yeah, Brian Alvarez bringing the huge scoop to us this week, saying that AJ Styles, that thing was written for him by John Cena and nobody else, and then AJ didn't know it was going to happen before it came out. Well, the little bit of paper came out from John to Alicia, and Alicia gave it the big one. So John Cena's just a nice guy, but too nice of a guy not to believe he's murdered someone.
Yeah, there's just something sketchy going on.
He's
there.
definitely stolen something, at least.
He's just a horrible person behind closed doors. We just make these lies up to make ourselves feel better, don't we?
Yeah. You can't be that nice all the time, John. Anyway, are there more releases? More serious news now. Are there more releases coming this week? Of course, on Friday, we saw the likes of Wesley, Stevie Turner, a myriad of WWE ID prospects getting released from the company.
Yeah, it wasn't quite surprising. I think when we were sat on news, we were talking about how WWE ID doesn't really feel formed yet. It feels like it's kind of in this very jelly-like phase where eventually it's going to set somehow, and that'll be how ID goes. But it's not surprising to see that they're cycling people through it more and more, and it was just kind of a bit jarring to see, I guess, because we hadn't really seen anything from it.
Especially with Wesley, though. I think it's such a weird situation for it to be in, because it's like, Wesley, get him back to TNA, but TNA is working with NXT, where Wesley has just left. So what could he possibly do? But you see Ash by Elegance and stuff like that. Yeah, it could happen.
They just need a good enough means of sort of conveying it on screen, don't they? I think the days of them maybe being a bit at loggerheads, I reckon we might see him still pop up.
Yeah, who knows? But anyway, Brian Alvarez, has been telling people on X the reason for these releases were not due to budget-related issues. They were done because talent, apparently, if they're not being viewed as progressing enough or being viewed as like main roster potential, that means they're just going, see you later. Which I think, going back to one of the bigger names that was released, Stevie Turner, they didn't let her. It was Hey Chat. She was a streaming wrestler to begin things with. A fantastic gimmick for 2022 whenever she brought that back to the fore. You're thinking, wow, the sky's the limit. She's on Twitch in the evening. She's in the wrestling ring just before that. But then they have her do the general manager stuff and not even have her wrestle.
Yeah.
So what's that about?
I don't know, but I sort of, it's going to be weird to say because obviously I don't like the news of any releases, but I like that they're releasing people because it's like, well, we just don't see anything for you right now. Which means that they're freeing people up to be able to go back to the indies in one like sort of way to look at it, but at the same time it means they're constantly looking to achieve a certain standard with their signings. So it means they're going to be trying to bring as many people in as possible, which they got to want to do now because they're really at war, aren't they?
And it makes you think that they kind of backed themselves into a corner because Brian notes in his little tweet there, it's a big newsworthy tweet.
His little bitty tweet.
130 people are in developmental currently, which obviously you can't have that many people not making your money just to have them there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's sort of at some point you have to be able to look at it and go, hey, you know, it's something needs to change, right? Like they need to make sure that they're always getting what they need out of it. And if you've got all these people signed and they're not doing anything, it's sort of cruel to them because they're going to get bored to the point where they just want to wrestle. They just want to do something.
More to that point, can more people develop when there's that many people there? There's only so many spaces on a card. And if you've got 130 people signed, why have you signed that many people when there's only so many people who could appear on NXT every single week or appear on Evolve or
how much can they do in the performance center until they get something else beyond that? And then at the same time, like having 100 odd people is
greedy.
It's a massive roster. It's a good problem to have, I guess, is to have such a depth to choose from. But I hope that there's not more releases. I'd like to, see nobody lose their jobs, but at the same time, if it means that it's people who aren't being utilized by the company for one reason or another, that means they can go wrestle. Yeah, they can do what they're happy to do,
especially like Stevie Turner, because it's just weird how they brought her in as a wrestler. We know that she can wrestle. We saw NXT UK her fleeting appearances there,
barely anything but
and then she's just being the second fiddle to Ava, who's not exactly the best at her job to begin with. There, Sam, is she progressing to main roster standards? I don't think she is.
Of course she is.
Anyway, but Alvarez does note in the tweet there that more possible cuts are happening this week. So, of course, when they do happen, if they do, we'll bring them to you with a heavy heart. Sam, what's happening this week at Cultaholic?
So this week, our stream schedule will be going live today at some point. I've got some stuff to take a look at over on the Patreon side of things as well. But we have, obviously, the live reactions. VOD is up here on the channel from Crown Jewel. We've got all the coverage in the fallout of that. We've got plenty of lists coming this week. We got plenty more content. And obviously, as I said, Patreon side of things, patreon.com/Cultaholic. You get early access to our latest episode of Pain Per View, which is an absolute doozy, isn't it?
Yes, it is. WCW Children Unite and WTF Moments for Crown Jewel will be on the Patreon later this week. But Richard Tubman's a little bit ill, so it'll be a little bit late. But it'll be live at some point this week.
He can't help being ill, so
he can't.
Get well soon, Richard.
I just thought I'd say that's why it's going to be a bit late. But anyway, thank you for watching the news video today. Of course, there's an AEW show this weekend, so we'll have the pictures and all that malarkey going on. It never stops.
It never stops.
I've been Ross, joined by Sam. We'll see you later.
Bye.